Welcome to the Life After Sesh podcast. Stories from before, during, and after the sesh.
Well, I never got into the sesh till I was 35, actually. Before then, I was into the Pink Floyd, the Who, Dire Straits, etc., etc. But I've always been a drummer, percussionist in particular. And someone dragged me along to London when I was 35 to a club called the Ministry of Sound. Never heard of it. Didn't open till 12. Where I'm from, everyone's in bed by 12. So I go in there, and I'm fascinated by all the beautiful people. But I was from a background of chatting and trying to pull a girl and all that kind of stuff. But no one talks to each other; they just dance. And I wasn't so much into dancing then. And then I kind of, about third or fourth time I went there, a girl kissed me with half an E in her mouth. And I've never touched a drug. I don't drink alcohol. But I wanted to be cool. I didn't want to spit it out. What's going on here? So I let that little thing trickle down my throat, and my world changed that night. I remember the track Plastic Dreams in the dark room in the Ministry of Sound. And my world changed. I understand why all the people don't click with all the people that don't do that. And that was the scene I followed for a long time. But as I said, I'm a percussionist, and some months after I went to some other club, saw a percussionist in there, thought I could do that. So all my Who and Pink Floyd records went in the cupboard, and out comes John Digweed and Sasha and these guys, Renaissance in particular, I suppose. And I'm playing percussion to that in my front room. And then I find myself going to a club called Bagley's, King's Cross, an equally amazing club. There's a gay guy in there called Philip Salon, was the promoter. I was a bodybuilder, and he was all over me at the door. Oh, would you like to come in and all that? Anyway, to cut long story short, I fronted him with my shirt off probably, and said, Philip, can I play the bongos in here, please? And he said, of course you can, Trace. And he said, come next week, we'll set you up. I expected to be in the back room just playing with the ashtrays and no one sees you. He whacked me on the big stage, and I'm playing with Danny Rampling and people like this. So I've gone from my bedroom to playing that. And then I credit that little tiny magic pill actually for giving me for changing my direction. It was like a fast track version into the chemical world, which connects with music, and it fascinated me. Yet, if there was a cool way to do it, wrong word, I'm always happy anyway. I'm always jubilant. I'm pretty upbeat, regardless, even if I'm at a funeral. And if there's such a thing as a come down, my come down is I'm back to just feeling great anyway. So, and I've never changed that in all the years. I would never consider taking any drug if I was depressed or down or felt I needed a chemical lift, because I don't. But to enhance things, I've done that a few times, and I still would occasionally. But I feel I control that. I don't let it control me, and I don't do more. So my sesh, going back to 35, I'm 64 now. So from that moment onward, I'm rewinding slightly, I was in that ministry every single week, and it was quite special then. And when I became a percussionist, I was quickly elevated to become Ministry of Sound's world tour percussionist for 7 years. I found myself playing in the Hacienda, Berlin Love Parade, Queen's Day in Holland, all over the world for years and years and years. So my session was kind of as an entertainer, but I also needed to go out, and I became a promoter. Sorry, I missed that bit out. After about 4 years, I was bringing so many people to see me play percussion, because my ego wanted my friends in front of me going, ooh, and all this. I did an event called Tracy's Bongo Party, and about 400 people turned up from me. And I quickly got into promoting in 1995, back to the club where I first played percussion. I was a promoter there, and then it's too many places to name, but I was at Ministry of Sound for 5 years. Then I went to Turnmills. So my session, I can't really answer that in the normal sense, but then saying that, I discovered Ibiza, where I now live, in Millennium. My first visit here was to do my own party in Privilege, not the back room, the whole club. I was asked to do it, Smartie Partie, Millennium. So I booked Marshall Jefferson and all my residents. And my very first visit to Ibiza was in that massive club. It was quite a cool club then. Manumission had left, but you get a good night in there. It was still good. So that's when I guess I needed to go out, and I started turning down gigs to go out to DC10. So my session then, this answers your question, for 22 years I've been coming here. I've been doing my own Smartie Partie in London New Year's Eve, and then I would get on a plane. You couldn't fly directly here to Palma, and get into Circo Loco for 6, 7 in the afternoon, Monday. My session would start in there. And when I said about taking substance, it's controversial, but I'll give you an example. If I went into Circo Loco, which is Monday, then we'd go to Cocoon after. No, in fact, we'd go to Space first. We'd go to Space first on the Sunday if I wasn't doing an event. This is in the normal term. And then we'd go to DC10 Monday daytime and Space Monday night. If I happened to have 3 or 4 pills on me, I wouldn't even take them all. Whereas people just neck. So I would just say that these substances, and I'm talking about substances a lot, is the icing on the cake of a big cake I've already got. So my session is I might be out for 2 days, but I'm relatively healthy. And as soon as I get home, I get back on the health kick. I eat properly, I go to the gym, I go to the beach, and I recover in 2 days as though I've never even been out.
What is the contrast that you've seen over the years as a promoter? Have you seen anybody get into difficulty on the sesh?
Yeah. Some of my own... I briefly owned a club in Mallorca, and at the same time I owned a club in London. And I used to run my club in London while I was in my club in Mallorca, pretty much on the phone with my manager and that. And some of my DJ friends would come in, might have something on them, might even be some weed or something, and I'd get a phone call while I'm in Mallorca. I said, "Tracy, your doorman ain't let me in." I said, "Well, why?" He said, "Well, they've found a pill on me." I said, "Well, you're a fucking idiot then, because we all talk about this, but it's wrong. You got to hide it. You got to keep it underground." But some of these guys just used to almost feel that drugs was so common that they're not illegal. And how many people are sitting in a prison cell, especially a few years ago, with a sentence because they've just literally thought it's like a chewing gum, something like that. And their world might go from being good DJs, being out, to being stuck in a cell looking at the wall. I won't name names, but I've had 4 DJs that have been my residents and played for me in the last, it might be 8 years, certainly over the COVID thing as well, take their life. And you sit back and you go, why? I'm not going to name 2 of them, but 2 girls, really successful DJs, beautiful. The next thing you hear, they're gone. Why? Is it Robbie Williams, the actor? Everyone says, "Oh, why did he take his life? He had everything, millions." No,
yeah, Robin Williams.
Him. You can't never really truly be in someone else's head. It's a shame, because some of these people on their journey to take their life, how sad is that? If they could just bump into someone who gives them a little bit of a cuddle, a nudge, a discussion, a talk, they just might not do it that day. The vulnerable mind, it's a personal thing. We heal ourselves, we fix ourselves. It's great to have a friend to talk to, but when we go home alone, and you've got to find that within yourself. You've got to find, you mentioned ego earlier, right? Your ego is your perception of who you are. If you can get your ego in balance with you, I think you've got an aid, an ally, an assistant, a great one. But if it's flying out the window, your ego, you're going to crash. And that's a disaster. And other people might see that and never pull you to one side and say, "Listen, mate, let's out and have a chat. You're a fucking idiot when you get hammered, mate." Really. I've had this situation with some people that have come and stayed in my house. They've gone over the top with their drink and coke or whatever, and they're on a mission to to destroy, if you like. I've learned over the years not to engage in, definitely not aggression, unless it's necessary, but to try and calm these people down. Don't meet war with war, like the silverback gorillas. You know, if you look them in the eyes, you're fucked. But you go like this, they just brush your head. They'll walk by. You have to diffuse these people, disconnect their brain wherever it's flying at, and then in the morning, if you have love for them or friendship for them, can we have a chat? Tell them the truth.
I know Trace as the guy from iBangor. That's how I first met you. And when I got there, you built this community. And when I learned a little bit more about you, I discovered that it's not the first time you've built a community. You've done it around the dance floor. Now you've done it around a kind of amphitheatre where everybody plays drums and connects. And I know that you had a no alcohol policy at that place. So you built different types of communities. For the dance music scene, when you have groups of friends, what would be your top pieces of advice in order to look after each other and make sure everybody's safe?
You mean like a group of people in a club environment going out?
Yeah.
I think the best buzz anyone can have, it's not always about the DJ or the club, but it's the group of people you're with. You go out with 10, 12 friends, you're a tribe, and if it's a nice venue and the music's good, whatever it is you prefer, you're out and you've got to look out for each other. And someone amongst that group will be, the leader's the wrong word. The wisest one might be the right word. I don't know. But it's so lovely just to see people free and enjoying, but also to recognise that they might crash here, and you just got to put an arm around them and bring them back to reality, because as you know, I see it all the time, people necking more and more and more and more stuff, and line after line after line after line after coke. There's a certain point, these drugs don't do nothing to you, not externally, because you're too far gone. So I think when a group of people go out, it's just nice to watch each other's back, and not just for them, but that they don't aggravate others. The environment of owning a club teaches you this stuff, because when I owned the Blackfriars, the Glass House in London, the Mermaid Theatre, the truth, if it was kind of R&B, hip-hop, they're kind of taking coke and champagne, and there's a little bit of aggression going on there, so all our doormen are a bit on edge. But that's the nature of the music. If it's a night when the majority of the people are probably on MDMA, you're not going to get any trouble, but they're not going to drink much. So some drugs it can elevate. I'll give you an example. The Dalai Lama, it's a silly equation. If you give the Dalai Lama a line of coke, he's probably going to be annoying, right? But you give a line of coke to someone that's just annoying anyway, he's going to do your fucking head in. So, and he might be your mate. You might be your mate, and not only that, people will cross the street from him. So I have a preference of drugs, and this is going to sound really strange. I've never taken coke. It's free to me, owning clubs, mates with it, if you want. I've never taken it. I took it once. I was with someone in their house, and they was doing my head in, because they never talk. They was doing my head in talking, just to get rid of their crap. I just went like that, because I knew no matter how great this might be or not, I ain't taking it tomorrow. That's my own resilience, if you like. And sure, I'll gabber in now, look. But it depends on the drug, you know. I have a preference. I personally don't like alcohol, and I don't like cocaine. But not everyone's an arsehole that's an alcoholic. Some people who just go inwards and cuddly and soft and funny even. I don't know if that answers your question, actually. It's just when you own a nightclub, you kind of have your back goes up with certain drugs that are in the club, because all of a sudden everyone's a bit tense. And an example, you walk through a club where they're kind of on MDMA, no one bumps into anyone. My girlfriend goes out in bare feet in DC-10, and no one treads on her feet, right? Because they're on MDMA, the ketamine corner might be a bit out of the way, but You go to a club, I've owned clubs where everyone's fired up on coke and all that. The arms get tense, and I don't know. It emphasises the person, and I don't think people say, "Oh, he's all right," unless he has a drink. It may be the drink and the drugs brings out the real person. Maybe it's a right struggle for some of these people to be nice. I don't know. That's just a personal opinion.
Well, what you're doing with your life now is very different to what you've done in the past. How did that come about? What was the turning point? Did you... just expand on that.
Okay, it's a great question, and it deserves this answer. When I was 21, my mum died at the age of 50. 51 actually, but 50, when I was 21. So when I was 45, my mum was gone, my dad was still nice and strong. I made a conscious plan to get to 50, the age my mum died, and live my life, what you might call spiritually, for my mum, because I idolised her, still do. So I made this plan to get to somewhere. You call it visualisation now, or you would call it a vision board, and every vision board I've ever had, I've achieved. So I made the biggest vision board to get my life as balanced, get me as healthy, visually as well, get me as financially secure, and all that stuff at the age of 50, so I can sit back on my whatever I have and run my empire. Do you know what happened? All right, at 50, I had all this stuff. House in Mallorca, a club in London, Ferrari, Mercedes, Cartier watches, Harley, everything, which was great. And I goes and buys a club in London for £500,000 next to Fabric, cash. I buy it. Well, what a mistake that was, because I didn't need it, but it was an opportunity I grabbed, because I grab opportunities. And I won't go into it too much because it's a whole new story, which I am writing about actually, but that's another thing in a book called Walking Through Doors. I acquired this club and I was set up big time. It's too complex to go too much into, but I lost the club. I don't care about the club. I went from having no mortgage in my house in Wapping, London, to having a £500,000 mortgage because I borrowed it off my house to get there, and everything imploded on me. Everything. The cars went, don't care about them. The house went, a relationship went. That was a blessing because we were splitting anyway, and she's lovely and I've got my own world now. And I just lost everything. For the first time in my life, at 51, when is the age I was meant to be Mr. Peaceful, Mr. Calm, Mr. Chilled, right? I was in hell, my version of hell. First time in my life I knew how much coffee cost, and I had to watch how much petrol cost. I was in bits. But I kind of knew I'd get through, I just didn't know when. And as I said, I got conned, and that's a whole other story. And then diversifying, 3 years I was in my version of hell. What that means is every month I had to find this much mortgage money. And I always found it because I'm quite entrepreneurial, but I couldn't go further and have an extra coffee, literally, or go on holiday to France. I just found my mortgage, and it was no life for me. I was the opposite of where I intended to be at that age, and I felt I was letting my mum down. And then after 3 years of this horrible shit going on, I had a weird dream, to get a bit strange, a weird dream that I was falling, I was going somewhere, I don't know what it was, and I used to shake myself awake because I was terrified of it. And then for some reason, one night, when this dream came to me, it happened every month I think, for about a year, I just relaxed and went with the dream. And my God, I mean, I'm not a religious person, but I can only describe it as like Star Trek, or when you see a starship go off. It was kind of like that, the dream. And where I used to be terrified and hold onto my bed, I relaxed. And I went through what some people call this, some people call it astral travel or something, I don't know. But I relaxed, and don't forget I'm asleep or half asleep. And then I woke, or I arrived in what I can only describe as, well, I've since been told it's my mum's womb, maybe, but it was something incredible. It was just beautiful. I was just floating, I was safe, I was just... It's as if I'd kind of died and come somewhere. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. In the morning, I woke up, I was different. I went and saw my dad, who's 88, told him my dream, and he spoke to me just like it was just a normal thing. He said, you're down, you've been down, yeah? He said, yeah. He said, tell me all your shit. He said, you still got that silly yellow Ferrari? I went, no, Dad, I ain't bothered about all that, but I'm bothered about me, Trace Harris. I'm bubbly. I'm losing me. He said, what happened last night? Then I told him. He said, it's your mum's son. So from that moment onward, I thought, even if it's not, the placebo effect of believing it is incredible. It looks after me. And my life changed literally that week. I was asked to work on the London Olympics. This gets to the point of coming in now. I worked for a huge sports media company, and I was their person in London to get London route master buses, taxis, makeup artists, models, DJs, bands, chefs. They all came to me for this media centre, which was bigger than this whole field in Stratford, which I did. And it fascinated me. In all my years of being a promoter before, everything I've ever learned and not learned was tested on that. And all of a sudden, this is the thing, right? Where 1 minute I've lost everything, the next minute I'm earning a fortune again. But I kind of didn't like it. I was scared. What am I going to do? Go and buy another Ferrari? What am I doing? The Olympics finished. I was safe again. I cleared all the debt that wasn't mine, right? It's someone who conned me. 480,000 quid. It was not my debt. I paid it, and I left with a little bit of money. It's quite a lot of money to some people, and I thought, wow, what a journey. The sports media company, this is it, said, Trace, would you work for us in 2 years' time in Brazil for the World Cup? I mean, I don't speak Brazilian. They said, we'll pay for a translator. We want you to go there a year before and find resources. And I was like, can I think about it? And they said, yeah, sure. Thought about it for a week. I was happy. My greed had gone. My entrepreneurial drive, actually that wasn't gone, but my love of money was gone. No, I'm going to emphasise that. My ability to get money was there, but I said no, and it's the most wonderful, I'm tingling now. I knew I could have gone. I could have earned £500,000 quid, right? And when I saw Heidi Groman, her name is, a German woman, I said, I'm going to say no. She went, we're going to miss you, but good for you. I'm tingling like crazy saying it. That's a moment in my life where I thought, wow, I never used to say no to nothing. And it felt amazing. So I came to Ibiza 10 years ago. My friends who run Clockwork Orange, huge promoter now actually, they're all here next week, millions of them, give me their house. And I came in, all I did was drumming at Bennyras. I'm a drummer. Things started coming at me because I'd come through this dream thing, and my mum, I can't, it's amazing, and it hasn't stopped.
What do you mean by things started coming to you?
When I first came here, I was offered Sankeys, privilege.
So opportunities?
Loads.
Synchronicities?
Because of my background, and I'm quite good at what I do, and I just used to go with my friend, say Mo Chowdhury, you won't know him, lovely man. He's the only person I think that has been the manager of Privilege, Amnesia and Space. We became best mates, and he kept offering me to do the music I do, because I do live band stuff and all that stuff at Privilege. And he said, what do you want to do it? And I said, I don't want to do it. And no one says no to these people. And I was offered stuff at Cafe Del Mar, and some things I did, other things, like I could have run this bar in Playa d'Embossa, and he wanted to give me $2,000 a week just to be the manager. I went, I don't want to do it. I could have rinsed him, because it's so easy, Playa d'Embossa, you just send out. And then I checked myself, I thought, I'm actually, and this is my ego talking, but I promise you it's in balance. Rather than chasing that and collecting this money, I didn't need it. It's a wonderful thing to have. I just decided I've got enough. If I want a bit more, I know I can get it, but I'm going to stop. Rather than, there's so many people that have wealth, not all of them, and they'll buy a yellow Ferrari because the red one's boring. Well, do you know what happens? The yellow one gets boring. or they buy another watch. Look at some of these Floyd Mayweather. How many watches he got? He don't like that watch like me and you would like a good watch, right? It's just a watch to him. They've lost that thing. I know I have. A bargain, or someone, I might play drums for someone now for nothing, and then someone might cook me a meal, and someone might give me 500 quid. But it fascinates me. I get gigs now. I done one 2 days ago. I had to dress as a pirate on a treasure hunt. 1 minute I'm playing Ministry of Sound as a pirate in the forest as these people are coming with a map, and then when they get to me I've got all these drums out and I've got to go, move over there you lazy lot, and I've got to teach them all drumming. This is the point to this story. When I used to be sent off to Hacienda or Australia or all these great gigs with all these great DJs, which is amazing, I loved it, I kind of know what I'm doing. Drums, timbales, congas, the DJ's playing, you're together. I get a call now, I don't know whether it's a funeral, an ayahuasca ceremony, the passing of someone's dog, or in the back of which happened recently, David Guetta's villa, I had to play there, to the owner of Schneider rented his villa, penicillin people, for 2 million quid, and I had to supply the music. My point being, when I get the phone call, I don't say how much you're going to give me and what is it. I might say what do I have to wear in case they want me dressed as a pirate or whatever. And my ego is fulfilled now with this stuff just as much as when I did a party and earned 60, 70, 80 grand sometimes. It gives me the same buzz, not necessarily the monetary gain, but the same thrill, because I have enough. And I hope I'm relatively healthy still. And if I did, I've got a son now, I'm 64 and I've got a son. If I need, I'll teach him to earn money in about 10 different ways. When he's about 6, he'll have a little market stall. I was told that. My balance, my karma and everything came to me properly, not here the first. When you first come here, I find it takes 3 years to establish yourself. The first year the ego's flying. My first year I was hiring a catamaran for a while in San Antonio, the Passion Cat. And I did something at Sankey's. I know I told you I turned stuff down, and I sat there. I thought, might as well be back in London. I'm getting back like that. There's all money coming all over the place. I just stopped doing stuff, and I only do things that thrill me or help someone else, if you like. And when I met Sylvia, my amazing wife, who's like no one I've ever met in my life, she's so quiet that I've toned my talking down now, right? Maybe because my cat's come in. But Sylvia's so quiet, she calms me down. She just quietens me down a bit. And I have your question earlier on, I've really, really outdone the answer, I suppose, is my life is different from them, but you know this placebo thing? My brain, my mind, my heart, my soul, I don't know if that really knows where you are. It just responds to how you feel. So for all my heart, my soul, my brain, my very me knows, I'm still out there doing all that clubs and that because I'm happy, I'm excited, my adrenaline will go up sometimes when I'm playing. I just love life. I sit back sometimes on this bench actually, especially at night, and I go, I'm just so lucky. I've had my crap, you know. I'm dying, Dad dying. The money thing is nothing, but it's still something to lose everything. And I'm just in a really, really nice place. But I still think you can't sit back and go, this is it. I'm here. I'm in nirvana. Everything's easy. It's not really. You got to. I don't say work at it. Work's the wrong word. But you got to still play your cards right. You could fall back. Anyone could just fall back into that. I so easily nearly fell back into, like, when you know Clockwork Orange, don't you? When they first came here, I did a couple of things with them at the Zoo project and all that, and which is great. I put on 25 drummers for them once, and I struggled to get. They're my mates, so I don't even care if they hear this. So I said, give me 1,000 quid. I mean, they'll pay a DJ 20,000 quid, right, for 20 drummers. And Andy, my mate, or was it Danny, said, oh, can we give you like 500? I went, 20 drummers? I said, no. So, and it just made me die that I'm asking for £1,000 for 20 people. Now, when I got that £1,000, I thought, right, there's 20 of them. I know Manan needs this money. He don't need anything. He's just drumming. Can't believe he's drumming. And all that. I kind of divided the money like Moses did the fishes, or was it the bread? I don't know. With who needed it, who cared about it. It was literally some people I give €20 and some 50. They was like, they couldn't believe. Whereas there's others in that group. If I'd have given them €100, they would have said, "Is that it?" And it's a really nice thing to do because you're dividing the fruits. You're dividing the bread. There's a guy called Manalier on this island. €20 to him's like £1,000,000. He's never seen such amount of money. And I invited him. He's got no shoes on. He's almost homeless. He's drumming with me. And at the end, I think I give him €40 amongst the 1,000. And he was like, "That's unbelievable."
I think what you're saying really is how I'm understanding it is you've seen a lot. You've probably had a lot of what a lot of people think is going to make them happy in life, but you've gone in the opposite direction. You've detached from materialism, and you've gone down a different route, and you're as happy as you ever were, maybe more so.
I have, but if you're a fly on the wall and you come in my driveway, you'll see a beautiful Mercedes there, and I've still got stuff, and I like this stuff. It's a tricky one, that, because I did some program a while ago about similar interviews in Holland, and so it's all right for you because you've had all the millions and all that. You don't know anything about having poverty or anything bad. So I said, well, I kind of do. Kind of watched my mum die and helped my dad through a coma, and carried my brother's 2-year-old daughter's coffin. So I do know some shit as well. I just don't dwell too much on that. I can sit here and talk about all that if you want, but I'm just talking about what I do, and it's great what I do. If that bothers you, the fact that I have an ego that is maybe appears to you elevated, it's actually not, because this is what I do. I'm answering a question. So it's a really hard one to grasp. I think is money my God? No. Is it useful? Yeah. Would you turn down £1,000,000 if it was in that field? I'd pick it up. I don't know what I'd do with it, but I'd pick it up. But I don't chase it. I don't chase it and then get it. And this is answer to your question, actually, because so many people have wealth, they're never fulfilled. They're gone past the point of going to a boot sale and buying a nice shirt.
How do you think that relates to the people that you lose on the sesh? You've lost people, I've lost people, we all have.
You mean actually took their lives?
You took their lives, or just kind of went off the deep end, you don't see them anymore. So we're talking about excess, really, aren't we? That the lives aren't ever fulfilled, there's no fulfillment. At the beginning of this conversation, you mentioned that lots of people just more.
Yeah.
You can do that with drugs, you can do that with money, you can do that with pornography.
Well, I guess some people who go so high through their ability, their skill, their financial reward from whatever they do, they can't handle it, sadly, when it crashes. So the wisdom there is, it's individual, isn't it? If someone's come from, let's get slightly cynical, from a vast wealthy background, and everything's given to them from a baby onwards, and anything they want they get, maybe not a cuddle from your dad, but he'll buy you a Ferrari, and for whatever reason it's gone. They're not going to handle that, I don't think, unless they've got a real mate. But they've probably lost all them.
It seems that they don't handle it anywhere. There's such a thing called affluenza, which is the condition of being in a state of constant misery when everything around you is perfect, like in terms of having security, having money, having toys, vacations, etc., etc.
Like Tyson Fury, maybe?
Yeah, well, I mean, Tyson, from what I understand about his story, is the more that he acquired, the more miserable he got.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're born into it, you don't know anything other than that. It's not necessarily the risk of it being taken away. It's just that they can't seem to find joy in simple things, because life is so complicated. So
true.
So these kids are in serious trouble.
Yeah, because they maybe have a degree of adulation from their friends, and then when they in a slump, those people have gone, and they're on their own, maybe where they're all gone. They build a false castle around themselves, and when it crashes, if it crashes, they haven't been given the tools, or sadly, no one's there to help them when you can't get nothing from them. It's an individual thing. You need to know if it's a brother or someone like that, or someone you know their background and that, you could probably help them. But if you really don't know, you know, you've got this lovely car and this lovely relationship, this nice house and all that, and you took your life, you'd have to be able to sit with them beforehand. People, I think men more than women, bottle stuff up. I don't know anything about numbers, but if you're going to talk about the suicide thing, I bet it's more men than women.
Well, it's the biggest killer of men under 35 above all disease, accidents, workplace accidents. More men under 35 take their own lives than have their lives taken.
And it's more now than ever, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's. I think personally that the disconnect between connection and social life within the dance music scene is massive, and I think it has a lot to do with people not looking after themselves, people consuming dopamine inducing drugs, which, you know, also there's a lot of people I know say that your sesh friends are not your real friends. I've heard that many times, you know.
That's very true, but not always like that. I mean,
it's not an absolute, but you know, the guys that you're spending your Sunday mornings with after a Saturday night out, and it's 6:30 and you're around the fridge sniffing cocaine, talking about geopolitics, those guys quite often don't show up midweek when you need them, and I think it's because they're dealing with their own come down as well.
Yeah.
You know, so that when you really need your friends, they're not there. And some people overindulge and then they're uninvited for things, and now we have social media. So not only do you hear about the things you weren't invited to, you get to see it in all of its glory on social media. You get to see vivid pictures of the events that you're not a part of.
Everything's in your face now.
Yeah, so maybe some of these guys overindulge in drugs during the week to try and reconnect the way that they do on the weekend. Now all of a sudden you've got a habit. You've got a habit to support, so if you are invited to do something that isn't clubbing related, you haven't got the money to do it because you're ticked up to the eyeballs.
Or no dad, uncle, big brother, or someone to ask for advice. How many people really? When 7 years ago, when I lost my dad in a coma, he was in a coma for 7 months. I was kind of involved in the process of all that. My fear has always been, I lost my mum, I told you about that, and when I lose my dad, I've got no one else to ask advice. He's the head of the family, right? Which is the traditional way anyway. He's the shaman, he's the wise man. Even up until when he was 88, when I asked him about my financial thing, and he told me stuff about my dream and just rejigged my brain. Because I wanted to listen, it's my dad. I listen to my dad, I respect him. I think a lot of people haven't got that figure, nowhere near that figure, that person. So when I lost my dad, I kind of became the person. I don't have anyone now I can ask stuff, really. That's not me being big-headed. There's a couple of people, maybe, if I really needed to. So I have to sit alone with myself and talk to myself, ask myself to evaluate me from a calm state, and the answers come to me all the time. I'm lucky with that I can. It's the ego thing again, isn't it? It's the God within you. It's I done something. Was I right? Now come on, was I right? No, you was wrong. So you're going to apologise, and no one's told you to do that. You have. That's a fascinating gift to have that, and that's balance, I suppose. And that's the ultimate in life, to be able to truly judge yourself and decide, why am I doing that? I mean, I used to, when I was younger, when I had my, this is really funny, but when I had my Ferrari, which is great kind, I loved it, I would create a conversation within a bunch of guys. I would manipulate the whole conversation. At some point, someone's going to say to me, what car you got, Trace? I knew it would come in. I would just, somehow I would do something. That's just my ego, right? I wanted someone to say, well, what do you drive, Trace? If they don't know, oh, well, I've got a Ferrari. That's my complete ego going, I kind of knew you was going to ask me that. You don't know I did that. That's an ego thing. There's not actually nothing wrong with that. It's just a nice car. But when you do something, if we want to be a bit fluffy and spiritual, you should do stuff that makes someone else's life better.
Well, that takes us on to Bangor, because I believe that was kind of your mission there, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's no drink there. I stopped the alcohol. When it first started, I let people bring whatever they wanted, and there was.
Well, let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I remember you telling me last time we met how you discovered the building and what vision did you have for it? How did it evolve? What is it now, and what do you think it will be in the future?
Well, the idea came from when I lived on a kibbutz in Israel. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like a commune. It was in 1979, 1980, before you was born nearly. Mm-hmm. This was straight after my mum died. I found myself living on a kibbutz. On a kibbutz, it's like a commune within Israel, very different to now. And you don't get paid. You work in the banana fields or milking the cows. You don't get paid, but you get everything you need. The point of that is, if you go there and you live on these kibbutzes, if you're a millionaire or you're a proper hippie in a cave, you're the same. There's nothing to show off. No flash cars. You work the same. You wear the same clothes. It balances your true friendship, if you like. And there was a comradeship developed there. After you finish your work, I would always be in bananas. Someone would be milking cows. We'd meet after in someone's shack. You're lucky if you got electric, and play music, dire straits before the house music scene, and you've got a really good friendship. And when someone left, you almost cried. And we're men, right? So you almost cried that Paul from Australia's leaving next week, and because you became so close. And there's all nationalities there. So wind that forward. When I came here, my first house on my own in Calatrava, I play music. I'm a drummer, as I keep saying. So I created a drum circle. People brought drums, and we just didn't even talk sometimes, drumming, really nice. Then there was a few other instruments, didgeridoos and stuff. And this is the point to the alcohol. There was a couple there, a Cuban guy and a Dutch woman. I won't say their names. And he was really bubbly, great drummer and all that. And he was quite mad, actually. And then a few weeks after, his wife came to see me. He said, Trace, I think she had a black eye, actually. Said I don't know why she told me, maybe because it's my house. She said, he's really violent to me. Yet he seems so amazing, this guy. So the week after, I said, I'm doing my gathering. From now on, it's no alcohol. Just because of her talking, I thought, let's see what happened. Rather than 20 people, 8, 9 people turned up, and he didn't turn up. And we did it, and it grew, then we did it, and then people would ring me up and say, Trace, I've got a load of mates, they're here, we've been to Amnesia last night, we're on a sesh, can we come to your house? I said, not if you're battered, you can't. It's a safe environment, especially for women. And it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. And then that house, I moved to my new house, which is what you're talking about now, Ibango. I named it Ibango. It's an old music school near Amnesia. And it's just, if I really wanted it to, I could make it massive, but I condense it. Always no alcohol, all kinds of nationalities, and it's a safe zone. There's no one, and I still see people sneak it, because where I sit on my drums, have you been?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
On the outside, where I sit, I'm not just sitting there because I want to be at the front. I watch people, and I often see, and I won't show them up, right? And it's almost sad. Or they go for a walk pretending they go for a piss. So at some point I'll go and see them and say, excuse me, I hope you don't mind, it is no alcohol here. Oh, that's all right, I lied it. I said, no, I mean no alcohol anywhere near here. Some of them would get actually a bit, ooh, I don't confront that, I just go, I'm sorry, that's the way it is, and all that. And then this guy turned up once, this guy who maybe had hit his wife, I don't know, and he came, and he was like a wreck, but he's a drummer. And he was shy, which a lot of alcoholics are unless they get on it. And he drummed, and he came and saw me after. He was a proper tough man. He cried. He said, that's the first time I've ever been out and not been drunk. Trace, ever. I mean, whatever ever means. Got back with his wife, they had a baby. I'd like to think I had something to do with that. When my Smartie Partie was at its peak, and it was huge. It was all over the world. It was at Turn Mills and Ministry in London, and 3,000 people every month. When that imploded, which was all connected those thousands of people didn't know my personal stuff, nor should they. But when that all imploded, when I had this massive debt, everything imploded because I couldn't put on parties and risk. It's not a lot of money now, but it was then 20 grand for an event with the risk of not getting none back if there's a bomb goes off in a train or whatever, because you lose your house in one party. I literally had to calculate every single pound I spent with fear, if you like, and my party started to shrink, and I chucked them before it sank. And I knew it was sinking before all the people, because you do as a promoter, oh, you only got 2 rooms open rather than 1. You've got these anyway. But the people that left me, that fell away from me, which was hundreds initially, not just the punters, because I had a really good loyal crowd, but the hundreds of different DJs I used all of a sudden gone, because I can't use them no more. I'm no use to them no more. And it just got less and less and less, and you're left with a handful of people. I kind of handled that. I was all right with that, because I've always had a wonderful girlfriend, if you like. And that's been my rock, especially now. Going back to Sylvia, when I met Sylvia here, I get on with a lot of people. I get on with you, right? We ain't spoken for ages. I'd like to think that's because I'm an okay guy. And my baby boy, I want him to walk around and someone says, your dad, I'm 64, he's 1, right? Sylvia thinks I'm going to live till I'm 300. I'll try and get to 100.
You just might.
I don't know, but I want my boy, I've got a different hat on now, to when he bumps into you or whatever, your dad was an all right bloke. That's all I need. I'll go with a smile on my face,
Well, looking at obviously your son is your legacy, so let's go forward a few years. Let's go forward 17 years into the future.
Yeah.
We started this interview by me asking you, what is the Sesh to you? When your son asks you that question, what do you tell him and what do you warn him against?
Well, within 2 or 3 years from now, my book will be out. I'm not doing this to promote my book, but I've wrote a book.
We will promote your book.
Well, I've wrote a book called Walking Through Doors, and it's being edited now. That's why I'm going to London as well, to find the final edit. I've been writing it for 30 years. My Sesh is in there, documented. It's a story about my life. And before I thought I was going to have a child, because I was told here I can't have children, by the way. This book was kind of be like my child. So if anyone wants, it's a bit of an ego thing again. What was Trace like? He's wrote a book, read it, and it's got a lot of, I think, really cool stuff in it. It's definitely got that moment I told you about in the ministry at 35. I'm glad I took something at 35 and not 20, because a lot of people I know now, they're anti it. They're like, even Coke or whatever. They're so anti-Coke because they battered it when they was younger. I'm not anti any drug, really. I don't have a preference. I don't take Coke, but I don't have a problem if I wanted to go out and take something. I don't have a problem with that, because I've never burnt myself out with it. So I actually want a session soon. I went to, Sylvia let me go to DC10 New Year's Day, just gone, and we got a baby, right? And I went on, well, I didn't go on my own. I met Kai from X Abode, and you know Kai, yeah?
Of course, yeah.
Good mate. In fact, he come to see me to try and slow, because he's on the train I was on. And he's kind of going a bit through what I went through, because he's been stitched, right? You may or may not know this story. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get him to let it go, but he can't. I let go. I paid 480 grand, let go of a debt. I didn't just let go of it financially. I can talk about it, but it don't bother me. My heart rate wouldn't even go up. I let it go. I can't do nothing about it. In fact, at one point I could have done, I suppose. I let it go. It doesn't bother me. Talking to Kai, I've changed the subject slightly. He's on that crazy vengeance thing. You see it on his media. He comes and sees me here to calm down. And I want him to let it go, but I understand why he can't. See, what is a Sesh to me now? What would a Sesh to me be now? A Sesh to me now would be probably DC10 New Year's Day. I still like it. It's even better now Paradise has left, because it's not so English. It's gone a little bit back to how it used to be, a bit more multicultural. I kind of like it. It's daytime kind of stuff. I would go at 6 o'clock. It opens at 4 or 5, when there's hardly anyone in there. And I would be literally buzzing at 64 without anything, before I even get in there. I just like it, the way it builds up. And then I would take a dab of MDMA or something, but I would leave there at midnight. So I've been in there 4 hours, 5 hours. I've danced myself. This is going to be my sesh. My wife's in. Sylvia probably thinks I've just gone a wee. She lets me go. It feels like I've just gone to get a wee because she's sleeping, right? But I'm out there having a sesh. And I did this, and I got in a cab at 1 o'clock. There's 3,000 people still trying to get in, and it's full up. It's just it's funny. I'm driving home, and I'm completely happy with my session. I've danced myself. I still like dancing. I'm not into old school music, despite my age. I still like to hear underground, cool music. I asked some of my modern DJ friends who play in Berlin and stuff like that who to listen for now, because I don't know a lot of the names. I'm out the loop, right? So I listen to the DJs they recommend and I enjoy it. So that would be my session now. Maybe I'll still be doing it when I'm 88, I don't know. You can here. You can go out here. I doubt if you could in London now. You could go out here and not one person will say, "Oh, mate, you're all right. You're a bit old to be in here," or "You're all right. You're still walking around," or "Hello, old boy." It's quite cool, you know. Ibiza still has that. People knock it, but it's still a pretty cool place.
This scene's only been around since '88, so you know
yeah.
The guys who've been there from the beginning, like Richard West, Mr. C.
Yeah. He's played for me.
Very fit and healthy
he
man.
Is. He's back in London now.
Yeah.
He left America.
Oh, he's back from LA
He's
permanently.
Yeah.
Ah.
He's doing his super freak parties already.
Yeah.
He played for me at Scala actually. Still got a great musical head.
Yeah.
So is Sven Gaff, and he's been around.
Yeah.
That might be my guest.
Well, it's a perfect time to wrap it up, Trace. Thank you very much for spending some time talking about your life after Sesh.
You're welcome.
Life After Sesh aims to promote safer and more mindful partying, better mental hygiene, and a deeper connection between party people.